Okay, I'm going live. Here is the intro. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask Earl Anything Live. This is the first time we're going to try this. Good morning, Blake. I see Blake. I see Lori out there. Welcome to the show. Feel free to ask some questions. I'm hoping I may have a couple people jump on. I don't know, may not. So your questions make the show. If I don't have questions, I don't have a show. So that's how it goes around here. Let me adjust my headphones real quick. Okay. So this is the first time giving this a real try. I did this midweek, and my friend Mike Fasano, who just showed up, he basically jumped on the show. I'm hoping to have guests on the show. This is one of the places I will do that. This is kind of Ask Earl Anything Live, so whoever has a question, then we will definitely answer the question. And I wasn't planning on going to the new questions I've got, but definitely something I could do is go to some of the questions that were left from the last week, because I did release a show this week. So this is a whole new world for me. I'm learning a lot about it. I have to tell you, it was a challenge figuring out how to get this microphone to work. And work through my studio. I realize my camera is only my iMac right now, but at some point I'm going to want to change some of that around a little bit. So maybe I can be behind the kit. But I really wanted to see if I could make the whole studio setup work. And right now it is working. So that's kind of cool that I have it working right now. So, but this is definitely an opportunity to do things a little differently. So I sent a couple invites out to a couple people. Hi, Chadwick Perry, my friend Chad. Some of you guys know Chad. Chad's got a YouTube channel. He has a lot of content. He's a great player, and I definitely recommend you check him out. I've thrown out to him before, shouted out to him before. So basically, this show is really questions. So I'm looking for a good question to start this one off. Got one from Blake Nunn. Okay, Blake, what are your favorite shell dimensions, manufacturers, and heads? Okay, well, you all know I'm a good long-time Gretsch player. I've been playing Gretsch drums since 1979. The funny story about the Gretsch drums is when I was in high school, I used to play Ludwig drums. I had a Ludwig blue Vistalite kit, and I remember there was one of the guys that was in the school band with me, and he basically said to me, he said, you got to play Gretsch drums, you know, because Charlie Watts played Gretsch drums, so everybody had to play Gretsch drums in his book. And I was like, I don't know about that. I got to college and I found out how unhip Vistalite drums were. And in college, it was a jazz school, Jersey City State College. It was a jazz school. Vistalites were not cutting it when guys talking about Tony and Elvin and Miles Davis and big band jazz, Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson and those guys, they did not play Vistalite drums. Even though Roy Haynes had a little bout with the Visties for a while. So I got rid of those Visties drums as fast as possible. And in 1979, I bought my first Gretsch kit, a real Gretsch kit. It wasn't called Gretsch USA Customs back then. It was just called Gretsch. And they are the real deal. And I've had them since 79. So they're my favorite drums. I have a set that goes from 8 to 16. So 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16. I have that many toms for that kit. As you know, I have a Vistalite. I also have a concert tom kit. And that concert tom kit, I've got 6, 8, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16 on that. So as far as tom sizes go, I like all sizes toms. I have roto toms. I like just playing drums. So, and yeah, Billy Cobham had Fives drums. Thank you, Brandon, for saying that. That's true. And Billy Cobham was another one of those inspirations for having big kits. But then again, the 70s was all about big kits. That's what the 70s was. It was big kits. And big kits allowed you to play lots of different melodic type things, a la Hal Blaine or Billy Cobham. And then they went out of fashion after the 80s hit, and we got into punk and new wave and metal. And kits, well, actually, the metal kits were pretty big for a while there. They double bass and lots of toms. So it was not uncommon to, to have a big, huge metal kit, But for me, Gretsch drums, as far as heads go, I've used just about every head out there at some point in time or another. I have a real, I'm kind of digging ambassadors again, but I didn't always dig ambassadors, man. Ambassadors were not always my favorite. It used to be coated emperors were my favorites. I like the Evans heads. Matter of fact, if Evans or Remo want to give me heads, I'll use their heads, or Aquarian, as far as I'm concerned, if somebody wants to give them to me. But I tend to buy Remo. They're a little cheaper usually. I usually can get the 50 off, and that's the big thing for me, is getting the pro discount. And the days of the pro discount and knowing your local drum shop are long gone. So that's another one of those problems. But I hope that kind of answered that one, Blake. I see some other comments going on. This is interesting, trying to run comments while you're talking. So I see some of you guys are concert tom users. That's cool. Yamaha concert toms. No, Yamaha custom birch. Sunset orange, 5-piece. Nice kit. Eat feet. Are they 3-ply? Chad is asking. No, my drums are 6-ply, the maple gum Gretsch drums. 6-ply maple gum. And the 6-ply maple gums are kind of the standard since the late 60s, early 70s. They started that way. And that's their formula with the gray silver interiors. Matter of fact, the bass drum on my concert tom kit is a Gretsch bass drum, even though it's got Ludwig hardware on it. My concert tom kit's just my throw together. I have a couple throw together kits. My main kit is that 79 Gretsch kit, but I've got a throw together 14 by 18 bass drum maple Gretsch. I also have a 8 by 12 round badge with that, and a 6.5 by 10 double-headed concert tom converted into a tom. Bearing edges done by Resurrection Drums that I did. I put the bottom head on it. And then I've got a Catalina maple floor tom because I didn't want to spend $800 on a floor tom. But that little jazz kit is the kit you'll see on Instagram a lot of times when I'm playing at church. Usually use that as a 4-piece. But that is Gretsch through and through, except for that floor tom being a maple, Catalina maple floor tom. It's a little Gretsch kit. Sounds like a little old Gretsch kit because it's old drums for the most part, 70s drums. So I have really old drums. I don't have any new drums. If I can get new drums, that was a question last time. The Tama Star kits look really cool. But I'll be honest, I'd rather rework a new one, an old one, than buy a new one. So I see my friend Waylon Drums out there. I haven't seen you in a while, Steven. Nice to see you. Lori Jones is here. Dave Smith. Dave Smith, I have about 30 of your songs on a playlist. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody watching my videos, I do appreciate it. I have lots of videos out there to watch. So that's kind of cool that some of you guys have me on a playlist. I always get encouraged by that kind of thing. Let's see. I heard the silver interiors of Gretsch drums back in the day was the same paint used for chain link fences. That's a possibility. I have no idea what that silver sealer is, to be honest. It is just gray paint. A lot of drum companies painted their drum shells back in the 70s and 60s. Rogers used to do it. I think it hid the blemishes of the wood, to be honest. If you didn't want your wood to be seen, you put the blemishes on. With the blemishes, you basically put the gray paint on. So Rogers was notorious for the gray paint too. They had their own gray paint. And Ludwig in the 70s, when they started getting the shells that weren't the 3-ply, the Ludwig shells that everybody wanted, back in the day. I forget what they used to call them. Not the Ludwig expert I used to be. The ones that Bonham used to play his first maple kit. They had that 3-ply interior with reinforcing rings. by the mid 70s, they were putting in this gray speckled paint that you found on the early Tama Imperial Star drums. So it wasn't uncommon to see painted shells, but the reason why they were painting the shells inside, they were saying it was for sound, but I think it had a lot to do with the blemishes that were on the wood. And today's shells are made round. They're made in a I think they make better drums today than the old ones. The old ones go out around. If you have any of those old Ludwig toms, sometimes they'll just go out around if the reinforcing ring got pulled away from the shell a little bit. I've seen concert toms where they're just like warped, and I've seen bass drums that are warped. Actually, the hardware for my Gretsch 22-inch bass drum on the concert tom kit, it came from a Ludwig bass drum that I got. Somebody gave me. It was a marching drum, 22 inches, and it was just warped. The shell was warped, so just couldn't do anything with it. Let's see what else we got. I know how nice you are and you don't bash people for using other drum companies on the stream. Yesterday, the guy drumming on the stream uses Meinl and said that zillion people said block me and stupid. I definitely don't get into the wars of what cymbals are better than others. You guys all know I love my Paiste cymbals, but I have a whole set of Zildjians and a whole set of Sabians, and I have nothing bad to say about Meinl. I just can't afford to buy another set of cymbals. You know, my wife actually I could probably afford it. It's not about affording it. It's more about my wife would smack me if I was to buy another set of cymbals, and I won't buy one. It's not like spend $400 on the latest new rides. They got this like Byzance Foundry cymbals. They look really like old jazz cymbals. They look really cool. Like I like to try them kind of thing. But if I was to spend $500-600 on a ride cymbal, then I'd want to buy a crash and a hi-hats and the whole 9 yards. And I still haven't finished my Carope setup. I still have a couple more Caropes to get, at least one that I'd like to get for that setup. Or I'd like to get a Zildjian, not an Armand. I like Armand ride is actually pretty cool. I have a couple Armands. I love those. But I would say the Zildjian Avidus 22-inch ride or a 21. Tate Berkey's got a 21 that sounds really nice on a lot of stuff. And I think the Avidus are kind of in line with the Giant Beats. They're thinner, 60 sounding cymbals. I think that's what I like about the Giant Beats. The Giant Beats kind of are thin cymbals, and I enjoy riding on them and crashing on them a lot. So, but I won't bash any of the other companies. No, I'm not going to bash any of them. I think everybody's making a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of bad stuff out there. You just got to find what you like and play what you like and do what you love. That's what I say, especially drums. I see Gunter's on today. Good morning, Gunter. Thank you for being on today, Drumico. Did I miss any of the questions in the feed? What sticks do you use, and do you change your sticks when playing live, nylon tips, etc.? I'm not a big nylon tip guy. I have a couple pairs because that's a sound I may go to once in a while. But it's definitely not something that I use. I like wood tip sticks. I like the feel of the wood on the cymbals. Of course, wood tip sticks eventually break, and you know they kind of chip off and stuff. Then you have to toss the pair. So, but definitely I'm more of a wood tipped guy. My stick of the choice right now is a Vader Los Angeles 5A. I've just learned to play it. I used to play the Vader Fusions for years. When I started out in college, I was playing more along lines of the Steve Gadd stick. I like a stick that's not longer than 16 inches. So the Gadd stick's a little shorter, and I kind of like it. I guess my hands are not really that big. I'm a big guy, but I don't have big hands for some reason. I'm not making any other correlations with that one, just so you know. But I will say though that the Gadd stick is a little smaller and has that small bead. I always liked that bead, so when they came up with the Fusion stick, it had a little more power to it. I really dug the Fusion stick, but when sticks started being $10 a pair, I started saying, nah, I don't want to do it. Guitar Center was always running the 4 pairs for $26, $27, $28, $24. Depends on what month and what week it is at Guitar Center. And I would buy 4 at a time, you know, and basically getting my pairs under $7, and that's kind of where I live. But I would use Vic Firth. I would use ProMarks. I've actually used all of them, all the sticks. I'll use cheaper sticks if I find a good deal on them and they actually feel okay. But 5A puts me in a ballpark that I can get any stick, any brand I want. but Vader just seems to be the ones I gravitate towards, the hickory sticks for the most part. I've tried the maple; they're really cool. I don't know if they last as long, but they're really cool. So, but again, I have no endorsements, so I can use anything I want. So, Vader, if Vic Firth wants to give me some, though, I wouldn't mind it. That'd be great. Or Promark. Promark goes with D'Addario, and D'Addario goes with Evans. So Promark and Evans is kind of a good deal too, if you can get that. But let's see. I know I missed a few things I saw up here. Let me see. Somebody asked me a question about giving lessons. You know, I'm not going to do a live stream lesson, that's for sure. I have done some Skype lessons for a few people. Back about a couple, 3 years ago, I gave some lessons to a couple of my friends. One of my friends was Mikey V. Some of you guys know Mikey V. He wanted to learn some brushes, so I was giving him some brush lessons. He's a great metal drummer. Great. He's got that big kit. I think it's a DW kit now. I think at one point he had a Sonar kit. But yeah, Mikey's cool. Mikey's a great drummer. Check his channel out, Mikey V's channel out. But yeah, I do Skype lessons for certain people at certain times. I haven't been trying to during the pandemic. There's so many guys giving lessons right now. Lessons are just one other thing to add to my week, actually. But I was trying to get a lesson business. That's how I started YouTube, to be honest. YouTube came out of my desire to teach drum lessons, and I figured out that, you know, if I'm going to teach drum lessons, I need to have somebody has to know how to play. So I started doing YouTube videos, and that's pretty much what popped my channel. That and getting in with the community, and I think that's a big part of how you build a following on YouTube, is getting in with the community. That's commenting on other people's covers and things like that. And I was blessed to be kind of brought into Drumman 190's community early on. I did some collaborations with people, and that kind of brought me in. And from there, I kind of worked hard to do a lot of drum covers, but I always had this Ask Earl Anything show from almost the second year I started it, and guys seemed to gravitate towards it. So that's kind of how I built my following up with people watching me, and I'm so glad all you guys are out there. 14 guys watching the stream is excellent to know. Let's see what other questions we got here. Yep, I love the Gad stick. Steve Jordan likes Vic Firth. Yeah, I'm sure he does. He gets them for free. So, do you have any experience with E-drums when recording, for example? I have some, you know, let me give you my E-drum story, and you know, I'm going to pass it back to, there are some guys on YouTube that do the E-drumming thing better. I mean, guys that have like great drum kits like you, Gunter. You have a great drum kit that came from Drumico, Gunter. There's guys that like Beats by Jay. Trying to think of some of the guys. Sam, what's his name? Yamato. I think it's Sam Yamato. I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen him in a while. I haven't been online a lot, but there's a lot of guys that have like great E kits. But when I think of E drums, I go back to the 80s and wanting a Simmons kit. So again, I'm going to throw to Chadwick Berry, because Chadwick's still using a lot of Simmons drums, and I see those, you know, those 6-sided hexagonal drums, and I always like that, just like, Simmons drums. That's just like the thing for me. And there's nothing about mesh pads that do anything for me. So I've been trying to stay away from the V drums, but I have a sample pad that I used for a long time in church for a couple years there. I was using it as a metronome and samples and things like that. And I go all the way back to having my first TR-505 drum machine, and then an HR-16, and then a D4 and some pads. And I actually had an SDS-1, Simmons SDS-1 pad with the run generator, and you'd hit it and it would go, you know, you set the speed of it so you can do those things. And I just thought that was the coolest stuff. You know, that was electronic drums to me. As soon as they became real drums, that became a problem. And guess what? I got some guests. I'm going to bring Chadwick in first. Chad, I just was mentioning you. How are you? For the first time, I think we're meeting. Are you in? Are you there, Chad? You are there. Chad, hi.
Me though?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Can you
I
hear
do
me?
hear you.
Oh, yes, I can hear. Yeah, so we're
Good,
good.
good.
Yay! I'm glad you
I'm
can hear
glad
me.
to bring you in. I also have my friend Tate Berkey sitting in the wings, but we'll talk
Oh,
with Chad.
righteous. Oh, I lost you. All right.
I'm back. I don't know what happened, but I'm
There you
having
go.
some weird stuff going on with this computer this morning, so I'm just happy to be here. But
Ooh.
thanks for jumping on. I was just talking about Simmons drums. I consider you one of the experts of Simmons drums out here. So you want
Who?
to tell us your experience with E
Who?
drums? That was
Me?
the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, oh, dude, I'm having such a hard time hearing you because it keeps clicking in and out. I'm guessing you're asking me about Simmons drums.
That's correct. Yes. Go for it.
Yay! I do. I know a ton about them just because I was such a fan of New Wave back in the '80s. Just it blew my mind watching those cats from England come up with that stuff. But I only had a SDS 7, SDS 9, SDS 8. I had the SDS 1000 Brain. I wish I had those pads, but I don't. But almost all my pads, the triggers, the PZOs are gone. I keep having to barely repair stuff. It's just old tech that's very cool. But the fun part is it's almost the exact same tech in my Roland V drums that are in my original Simmons. It's still that same 1-inch PZO. So it still runs that whole electronic sound. Kind of cool.
Which is crazy. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't
it? It's different. I enjoy it. And just Simmons sounds are what really got me. Actually, I've sold all my Simmons stuff except for I think just the drums. I've gotten rid of everything now. I sampled everything that I loved out of the SDS 7 because it was such an analog machine.
Yeah.
And I sit there and sample tons of it. And I talked about it in my video today of how about layering sounds to make Simmons sound big. And that's kind of how Mutt Lang did it. But I don't know. It's just kind of fun. I enjoy the Simmons stuff. I'm not doing a lot of it right now. I'm kind of just using like 2 pads on my hybrid kit. So it's kind of cool. It's neat. I keep having to walk around because I keep losing my Wi-Fi, Earl. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm nice to meet you finally. It was very impromptu bringing you in. Tate Berkey was waiting in the wings. He's kind of said to me after my last live stream last weekend, when I was experimenting, I just went on as an experiment. He said, "Hey, let's get on and talk." So I figured I would invite both you and see if either one of you could come. And then you said you couldn't come, and then you could come. So I'm glad you jumped on.
Oh, I know. It was fantastic. I was really glad. But yeah, that's all I've been doing. I've been editing this morning. I get up early every morning and I edit every morning before I do anything. So I'll spend at least 2 hours editing videos every single morning. So that's what I was doing this morning when you hollered.
Yeah. And you are the green screen guy. I mean, what you do with
green screen there's
amazing.
One behind me right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting better with it right now. I'm working on some new stuff that I was doing this morning, and I was showing my son, and he's like, "I've never seen that. That's neat, Dad." Just because I can control 2 different things with slow motion and real time stuff, and I'm really working it out. But I'm doing it all through iMovie. Everything in iMovie, 100% in my iPad is iMovie.
iMovie on an iPad. 100%. That's amazing.
All my DAW is in my iPad. Everything is in my iPad.
You must have a very 100%. Powerful iPad. You got a Pro?
No, I've got 56. Dude, I've got an Air 2 from 5 years ago.
Okay, I got an iPad Pro from 3 or 4 years ago, and it's got 128 gig, and I do all my Instagram editing on that, but I don't do anything.
Yeah, it's everything. Stuff. I do all my sessions for people that are remote. I do every one of those now and send them all out from my iPad. I was recording in 96K and I've dropped back down to 44 because it's easy to edit and I don't have video issues. But I've had to go back to 48 because 48K makes the drum sound amazing. The toms thicken up. The bass drum gets big. It's great.
I think that the 48 24-bit really does add a lot.
If you're not 48K, do it.
Yeah. And 48K actually works better with video. it syncs. It doesn't sync well with 41. I've had sync issues
Uh,
with that.
I'm struggling just because of the way the iPad works, but it's probably the limitations of what I'm using and creating with only an iPad. The reason I'm doing it because I had switched over from Pro Tools to go to Reaper. Have you seen Reaper yet as a DAW?
Yeah, I have. I just don't use it, but I know what you're talking about.
It's neat. And so I started going into that, and then I met somebody that had a touch Pro Tool system at NAMM, and this was years before it came out. And right beside them was a company called Aurea, who was a touch Pro Tool system for iPad, and it looked just like my Pro Tools. So I jumped ship and I went to that little company, and it's great because I can record any all the way up to 96K on an iPad, which is pretty crazy as a drummer to record that high def. But nobody ever wants it. For any remote sessions I get to do, everything has to go to 48K or 44. Depends on what the guy wants. But I've actually, my last session I did, it was weird. Somebody asked me to send a Wave 4, an MP4 as my final mix, and I couldn't believe it. But that's what they used, and they never called me. They never called and said there was an issue. So that's strange. I had no idea that people could use an MP4. So
you can bring it into the DAW, but it doesn't sound that good. It's better to get a better quality if you're going to do an album or something.
It was a cat from New York. He was putting together a big thing, and he sent me the tracks, and I sit there and wrote it all out and played it and sent it right back. And he never called me back and said it was a problem. So I guess they were all using MP4. I don't know what their DAW is. I just haven't seen that used yet.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Oh well. But here's something fun, Earl. I got something fun for you. I love that Gretsch bass drum of yours so much, and I do not have a 20 for my DW design kit. I went and found the DW kit, the bass drum that matches it in a 20, 16 by 20, and ordered it from California 2 days ago. It's being shipped, and I'm going to remount all the hardware to my DW hardware and turn that Gretsch kit kick into a DW kick, because I cannot find a 20-inch DW kick at all. I just can't find them for that series. So I found one for about $360 or something like that in California. So they are sending me a Catalina one that matches my finish, because DW really kind of made those shells. So it works really well.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start you start looking at where they make some of their stuff. DW. I mean, DW gets a lot of their shells from Taiwan on their lower line drums.
Oh, it does. And the ones that I have, the design series, it's kind of like having a Lakeland bass that comes from Indonesia instead of America. There's $1,000 difference. It's incredible. Those design series drums from DW are so nice. I absolutely love it. They're easy to tune. They just sound really well. I can't see a reason to get another DW set other than the custom ones seem to open up sooner. The volume seems to open up with less stick attack, and that's cool. So that would be the only reason I'd probably ever switch from the design series to maybe up to the the $7,000 sets of drums. That's crazy. So because that's so expensive, but they're so beautiful. But they make most of their shells. The ones that are in, I've been really trying to find out a lot about DW since I've kind of switched over to their stuff. Their shells are, the guy that makes them at their factory just blows my mind. It seems so simple the way they do it compared to, say, Yamaha that has a guy that slices them at a certain angle and fits them into the angle right. And I'm like, oh goodness gracious, it's so different how they do it. But I like it.
Yeah.
DW sounds, which is great. And I hope that kick drum, that Gretsch kick drum, I hope it works out. I think it will. So
is it a Catalina?
Because I don't want the 22 anymore. I want to go down to 20.
Catalina maple, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's maple with it's the maple. They call it cherry finish, but it's the tobacco burst DW finish.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like to me when I saw it. I was like, golly, that's exactly the same finish of my stuff. I'm just going to rip off my lugs and just re-drill the holes. I don't mind. I Frankenstein all my drums, like this little kit. Complete Frankenstein kit that I have made just because I needed it to work, to travel, and that's what I have done forever, is travel and play. It's really neat. This whole thing is based around microphones in a club. Kind of cool.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm a Frankenstein guy myself. So
I dug it. I used to send my rep at Crush Drums, I used to send him pictures of things I would do in my grinder with the metal pedals that they would give me, and show them how I was making them fit better if they would angle things different. And I'm not afraid to take a saw to anything. So I don't know.
I saw that.
Oh, well.
You have done some crazy stuff to your drums. I've done some crazy stuff too, but not as crazy as you. I will say that.
This crazy Millennium Falcon cymbal. My goodness gracious, this crazy thing. This is my first 18-inch Mellow Crash that when they were released back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And this was my first one, and I'd broken it not only once but 2 other times, and I won't drill them. I don't like it. So I went to a metal shop, and they have a shear that's hard enough to cut this thing off, and I just cut it off, and it kind of trashes up the sound, but it works until you do it two times. Now it sounds like a weird China. But it's just different things. I'm always looking for something unusual. So, and that's kind of what my channel is. I actually have
a 17. I got a 17 thin signature with holes drilled through it. Yeah, where the cracks were. The cracks were there, and they drilled the holes. It was my friend's cymbal, and he did some session stuff down here with his band, and he handed me the cymbal. Said, "Here, take this." I just did it for him for free. Like, come on down, just do what you got to do.
When these were released from Peisty, they had a guarantee that if I broke it, I could mail it back and they would just mail me a new one. That was the actual guarantee on the Signature Series for professionals. It was amazing. So I was all in. And so I got them, and then they got rid of that after a couple of years. But it was kind of a really neat idea that Peisty did to, get them to jump into the Signature Series stuff.
Yeah, it was a good idea, but those Signature Series, they're a little softer than the other ones.
They are softer, and how I learned that I love them so much, because I used the Mellow Crashes in those series. How I learned that I loved them was I was in a studio in Nashville, somewhere over on Music Row, and after I got done with just sound checking and walked back in, they were replaying something, and I said, "How did y'all get the cymbals to sound that way?" Because I wanted to know how they EQ'd it. He says, "We haven't done anything yet. You're hearing the natural sounds out of those SM91s of those cymbals." And I was shocked. They sounded like crystals just falling from the air.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And after that session, walking into those massive speakers, I was sold on the Mellow Crashes for recording. Just completely. Best ever for me.
No doubt about it. Peisty cymbals record so well. I mean, you can get some Zildjians that record well. I'm not saying you don't. I mean, years guys been using those, but I love Peisty.
Man, I don't even know many guys in town here that can even go to the vault. That is really, Weckel can go and he can make a call to get in, but most of the guys here, we're not getting to go to the vault. Right. We can't go pick out those crazy great cymbals that they have hand gone. These are better than the other ones. Let's call Vinny up. You need to hear this. Yeah. That sort of thing. I'll never be able to get to that. So I have to find a way to be consistent, and that's why I loved Peisty. But Peisty was my thing because in the 80s, with the New Wave stuff, all the New Wave guys from England and that were sending music out with their Simmons drums had Peisty cymbals with Simmons drums. I had pictures of that stuff all over my lockers in high school and stuff like that of 80s Simmons drums. Yeah. It was just the way I kind of thought. I was going to evolve one day to be a good drummer. I got to learn how to play.
Well, that's
play the electric kit. Because the electric kit was expensive.
The first Simmons drums were like $5,000 for just the 5 drums, the 5 tabletops.
Incredibly, it was absolutely incredible. I had the first TD10 that came to Nashville. It was at this weird little music store, and I went to the demos of it, and I was blown away at the demos of the first TD10. And then when I found out the store had one, I went and got that one. I was real lucky, and the band got it for me. And goodness gracious, it was crazy to play that thing back then because it was mind-blowing compared to what I was using. Mind-blowing. Yeah. So it's just different. But when I go back to it, I go back to those Simmons sounds with myself a lot because a lot of the Simmons sounds are still usable in all the dance music, especially the dance music I do on Mondays. Just so easy and so into it.
I think they're still using the 808s. They're still using that. The hand claps.
Behringer has reissued the 808, and it is great. Absolutely great. I love programming machines, and I've always loved it. So I loved programming all those things. So the 16-step to the way Elise has changed it over and all that. I just loved it. I just love the sounds, and I still do. And I like that they're still used today, especially they're going back to those sequential drum machines and the Lynn snare drum sounds right now and everything. And whoa, great. It's so cool. And there's ways to do it now with your acoustic drums to make it sound right, which is very cool. Fat heads are great. That helps out so much to people. It really does.
Definitely. Well, we got some questions in here. I saw a few came by. Let me see what we got going on. And is Tate out there? I haven't seen Tate in the questions. So if you're there, Tate, let me know. I want to drop you in. I don't see your face on this thing. But yes, you are. I'm going to drop Tate. Let's add Tate Berkey to this. Do you know Tate, Chadwick?
Not yet, but I guess I'm about to.
This is a great drummer right here. Tate Berkey.
What's going on, fellas?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, now, thanks for having me.
Oh, no, definitely. And I think we'll do one like we said, we'll just do a Chicago one day.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Plays Chicago better than anybody I know on YouTube right now.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
So you are the guy. I just love Chicago. I just play a lot of Chicago because I grew up playing Chicago, but it's become Earl playing Chicago because, well, nobody can copy Danny Serafin anyhow, so as far as I'm concerned. So, Tate, tell us a little bit about your background, what you're doing. And you've got a channel. You've been out there now for the last year or so, right? When did you start your YouTube channel?
I've had my YouTube channel now, oh gosh, it's been a really long time, but it was just kind of an account that I would put something on every now and then. I have a couple really old videos. I think the first video that's on there now is called Drumming with My New GoPro. It was like, I filmed it on Christmas Day. I got this little GoPro. It's still the same GoPro that I use when I film. It's like a GoPro Hero 3, so it's really old, but I still use it when I film today. And I just had one of the chest things that you film with, and I put that on and film this video, and that was the first video that I put on YouTube. And then every now and then I would either put up a cover or a video of me playing live, but I really started the whole cover thing about a year ago now. It was around November or so last year. I was home for a week on my Thanksgiving break and decided to film a couple things.
Now
and then over
University, right?
Yep. I'm in the city right now. I'm in Philadelphia right now for the spring semester and for my jazz performance stuff. And so that's what I'm doing here right now. But when I'm home, I film my covers and play gigs when I can. That's not going on too much right now. I'm hoping that kind of stuff will pick up over the summer. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on.
And you play you play in the big band too, right?
Yep. Temple, I'm in a big band and a small ensemble here. So
that's great.
That's pretty much what everybody gets to do when they're here, which it's a lot of great experience and a lot of fun.
Well, not everybody gets to play in the A band. Are you in the A band or the?
No, I'm not.
Okay. But you seem like you definitely could be playing in that A band, I'm sure.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. People get shuffled around, so, you just get moved around depending on where everybody's at and what's going on. So we get moved around and do different things, and there's lots of different small ensembles. Right now I'm in Joe Magnarelli's ensemble, who is just a A-list great trumpet player from New York that teaches here once a week. So that's a lot of fun.
That's cool. So what inspired you to jump in and start doing all the Chicago stuff and all the Tower Power stuff you've done? And I know you're a big Jeff fan too, Jeff Porcaro fan. So.
Yeah. I was into that music when I was in high school, and I just finally saw the time to be able to start doing the covers. And I had gone to see Chicago on the 50th anniversary tour in 2017, and that was what I was like, wow, this band, and I didn't know all of my Chicago history then. I think I watched the documentary that was on Netflix for a while there after I'd gone to see them, and then it just totally infatuated my appreciation for the band and the original members that were still playing with them. And so that was what kicked it off. And I just got through all the studio albums, listened to all of them, and it kind of blew up from there. And that led to, Tower Power. I'd studied out of the David Garibaldi book, Future Sounds, when I was in high school, probably 10th grade or something like that. And so, I loved all the stuff in that book. And so, I was listening to Garibaldi based on all those patterns and stuff that's in those books. And
you had some teachers that directed you that way.
Yeah. The teacher that I had since he was my teacher for probably around 10 years. His name's Todd Egger, and he's a great player. He teaches public school. He was the middle school band director for years. and I actually had a co-op with him when I was a senior in high school. I basically, for periods of the day, I hung out with him at the middle school, and I got to conduct the 6th grade band, and I got to teach the school lessons that they would have and stuff like that. So that was a really great experience with him. But yeah, he was my private lesson teacher for almost 10 years, from when I was like in 1st or 2nd grade all the way through high school. So he really knows what's going on, and he's a really great teacher.
Cool. So
I have a
Chad,
question. I have
go
a
ahead.
quick question.
Go for it.
Was Waldo? Let's see. Waldo. Let's see. Was it Ray's Jr.? Was he playing drums when you saw him live?
So he was. I've seen them twice. So when I saw them in 2017, I saw Tristan Bowden was still the drummer, and then he left right after that tour. So Wally was on percussion on that tour, and then when I saw them in 2019, Wally was on drums, and Raymond Yuslas was playing percussion, and that's the lineup that's still going on right now. But yeah,
are you following Wally's channel right now on YouTube?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My goodness, he plays a lot of notes with that Chicago stuff. I couldn't believe it. He is amazing as a drummer. I had to play after him at a NAMM show.
Oh, wow.
Goodness gracious. It was absolutely insane what he was doing with the cowbell behind that kit. It was
yeah, he's crazy.
It was wild. And he was so nice to me because he was asking about, hey, how would it be to move to Nashville? And so he would just sit down and talk to me about stuff. Then all of a sudden his daughter started talking to him and it was over. But that was it was neat. But he is a crazy good drummer. His YouTube channel playing the Chicago stuff is mind blowing because he is going for it.
Mm-hmm.
He really is.
I have a playlist that I made of all of the tunes in the set list order from the shows that they played more recently, because he's pretty much uploaded a tune from every song in the set list. So you could pretty much watch a Chicago show and just sit and watch Wally play the entire. He's pretty much put up every tune from their set list that he filmed live.
So cool.
Yeah, Wally's great.
Well, that's interesting. I saw Chicago back in 2005 was the last time I saw them, and Tris was playing, but they were playing with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and that was pretty unmatched. It was pretty tough, that show for them.
Was Wally with them at that point, or was it just Tris?
It was just Tris, I think, at the time. I'm not even sure they had a percussionist on that tour.
Yeah, I know percussionists were kind of in and out. I know that I can't remember that guy's name. I know he subbed and played kit for Tris when Tris was out for a little while when he was getting all his cancer treatment. I just don't remember when that was. But I know there was a guy that was before Wally. I feel bad that I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I wasn't really following him tightly at that point. After 2005, I saw him, and I mean, Tris is a great drummer. I love Tristan Bowden's drumming, especially with Kenny Loggins and stuff. But
yeah,
you know that I have my own little bias to Danny Serafin, because I mean, he was the guy that kind of influenced me completely as a child, and the way they did him out of the band. I remember one day I was watching ABC's in concert, and they wrote him out of the script. They literally wrote him out of the band. He wasn't there. There was pictures of him, but they wouldn't mention his name. I just thought that was so childish, But
there, Mike Fasano, Drew Hester. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah, he played percussion and then did some of the kit stuff for Tris when Tris was out there for a little while. Yeah, good. Drew Hester.
Mike's out there too, man. Nice to see you get Mike again. So. A lot of people. There's a lot of questions here. Let's see if there's any questions for the three of us in here. I see a bunch of questions. Crisp.
I'm reading all the nice things. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, part of this is to get you guys some exposure, both of you. I mean, you both have you're great players. They need to find you. You know what I mean? That's what this world is about. I mean, I don't know. I had a couple guys that kind of promoted me early on, and then this silly show, people started watching me talking about drums for some reason. So I still to this day don't understand what they enjoy about it, but you guys do it. Look, you're all out here. So do any of you guys see a question in there? Let's see. Frankenstein kit. Earl, rims mounts. Do your toms have holes where yes, they do. Unfortunately, I did not buy them with the rims mounts. That's part of the problem.
Did you add those rims mount, Earl?
Oh yeah. I did a session in actually my first trip to Nashville. I got replaced by a drummer named John Hammond. Do you know John Hammond, Chad?
No, I know the name. I just haven't met him.
Yeah. Well, John Hammond was the guy that came in and finished the album. I did the first 6 songs, and we did it at a studio that was called Hummingbird Studio, which was on the top of the BMI building that used to be there, and it's now in a bunch of condos, I found out. And I used a guy's drums named Dennis Holt. Dennis Holt is another Nashville drummer, and he had a set of pearl fiberglass double-headed power toms. And they were the drums that left in the studio, so I used that because I was coming from Jersey. I didn't bring drums. And pretty much that's where I learned about rims mounts, and I learned about how they were sustained and everything. So when I came home, I just put them on my drums. That was pretty much the story.
In the late 80s, they were such a huge thing. Percussion came out with those, and everybody loved it. But my ear in the past probably 2 years is starting to change. And it's kind of going back to when I listen to my drums with the old style rims mount on it. They sound more dead than when I just went back and put a Yamaha mount on a tom. They sustained more because I got rid of that hole. The hole seemed to be the killer of the percussion rim system. It did sustain the drum, but the air escaping that drum to me negated the hole just negated the whole suspension system to me, and only made the way I made it work to where it really would do it was I bent one so the drum would kind of rock, so it would only really sit on 2 of those posts, and then it was suspended completely. Like it was loose. It was very neat, but the hole in it, it just changes the decay of the tom so much that I just went back and started screwing my mounts directly back into them, even if they had pre-installed mounts like the crush drums I had. I took them off and put a mount on that drum on purpose.
Did they have the L arms, the crush drums?
No, they their system they had set up was a 4-point system on the bottom and top lugs that would mount, and it made it so stiff. The drum was so solid in that cradle that it didn't resonate. So when I got rid of the cradle and screwed directly onto the shell, I gained all my resonance back out of toms. So I'm not sure they're always great. That hole that it puts in there, I think I'm about to change my Pearl BLX tom that still has that hole and put a mount back on it to close the hole. And I just don't want the air to escape that fast. I think the decay is happening too quick.
Well, that's a possibility. The problem with the Pearl mounts, though, they go straight into the shell.
Yes.
Like the old Ludwig ones, the big old Ludwig ones that were like 1 inch, they went in the shell. The memory lock Rogers went right into the shell.
Yamaha used to have ones that did that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had the hex
the
ones that go
hex
into the
ones.
shell.
Yeah.
So anything that goes in the shell kills the drums. So the rims mounts really made my drums come to life. Now, would I go with an L arm today? Possibly. You know, a lot of guys are going back to using like the Ludwig mounts that are on Tate's drums. Do you have suspension too on your drums?
I have the rims mounts, yeah.
Yeah, you do.
But I want to experiment and see if the Atlas mounts that you basically like you take a lug off and put the Atlas mount on. I want to see I want to see if there's much of a difference to the sound between a rims mount and one of those.
Those are amazing.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything drilled through it, you probably will get a lot of success with it. That's the key. Like I've got this big stinking 7/8 hole on every tom, and then I did one to my floor tom just to make things more fun. That's why I Frankenstein my floor tom. I wanted to be Gad, you know. I had a 13 and a 14, and I didn't want to spend the money on a rims mount, which was like $40 at the time in the 80s. And they were expensive. Those things when they came out, they seemed expensive. I don't think they've really changed in price all that much from the 80s, but they were $40 back in 1980 was a big deal for some reason. Maybe it's because I was just really poor and I had 3 kids. That might have had something to do with it, but that's another part of that story, I think. So I bought the 7/8 mount and I drilled the holes in my floor tom, which I regret to this day because my 14x14's got a hole in it. So, which I wish it didn't have in there, but that's life, you know, as they say in the big city. So
the floor tom's not so bad because that has so much air going back and forth between those 2 heads. It needs more places to escape than that little small 1/2-inch hole. So you actually probably didn't do too bad on the floor tom because of the extra air of how much is moving with those 2 heads.
It just looks terrible. So
oh yeah,
that's another part of the problem. So
there you go.
I got some gaff tape over the hole now. So it kind of blends, you know. But my drums are my drums. I'm not going to sell them. So guys ask me all the time, "Will you sell your drums?" I'm like, "No, I'm not selling these drums. These are going to my grandkids. I got 3 budding drummers and my grandkids that are going to get my drums at some point." So, we got any? Let's see. Any other questions? Rims Mouse was an interesting one. Let's see what else. Mapex. Can't keep up. Thank you guys for all being in the stream. I think there's some great questions for another Ask Earl Anything one of these days. In here, I saw a few of them. Guys, thanks all for being on. Let me ask you both a question. What do you think of? Do you do any sessions in town, Chad?
Not anymore. Everything I do now is remote. It's all remote. 100%.
So the session scene's really changed in Nashville.
It has. I got called for a live session for the first time in a while, but it was during the height of Nashville just being overwhelmed in the hospitals with everything that was going on with the pandemic that I passed on it. Yeah. I decided not to take it. So I haven't played live since I started doing the whole cover thing a year ago on YouTube. I haven't played live, and I was kind of getting to the point where I'm changing it. I'm not sure I want to play live anymore. I like YouTube so much. I don't have to take my drums out of a pristine place. I get to switch out my kits every other day. I change drum sets just like I want to do when I was playing live. Yeah. I get to play. I have at least a few people every day watch me play drums, and that's more than out of 1,000 people in a club. That's more than the 10 people that might have shaken my hand at the end of the night. Yeah. So it's a different way to look at it, and I can be creative with video now because as a drummer, I was a musician, but now I'm expanded into video, and I'm doing all the video stuff, and the video stuff in my drum videos is to me so interesting right now, and it always inspires me to do more. So I don't know about playing live. It's kind of messing with me because I like playing with other musicians and I miss it. When I play all the music that I write by myself, it gets kind of stagnant, kind of like some Prince stuff did for a little while. When it's all you by yourself, you kind of create the same thing over and over and over. Yeah. But
well, you also write too, like you were saying.
I do. It's having cool. All the instruments, gives me the ability to kind of be my own band in YouTube. So that's kind of cool. I don't have to, wait for a guitar player to get here because he's late, and I don't have to, I kind of just do everything by myself. Right. It's different. I'll probably say something. I'll probably change my mind later on when the world opens back up to be able to play live. I hope so. But right now, I'm really enjoying YouTube a lot, a whole lot.
That's cool. And I think it's opened up a world for me. I mean, I've had this studio 20 years, and I've done, 14 albums, I guess, out of here, different independent projects with people. And I've worked on people's albums from here. So I've been doing remote drumming for sessions for probably 10 years, 10, 11 years, I guess. But it's not enough to make a living, that's for sure. And if I had to make a living with this, I'd be like, forget it. You got to be in a place like Nashville to make a living.
No.
I know, not anymore. I know. The world's changed. I know.
But, some days are better than others, but right now it is.
Well, I think to make a living, you got to be willing to go on the road. That's what it comes down to.
You do. You got to travel a lot, and traveling got to me. I had a couple of horror stories that I haven't even got to yet on my Worst Gig Ever show that happened with traveling that really turned me off against playing live. My last few shows were so unusual that it just made me go, I don't think I want to get on an airplane and do this anymore. I don't want to get in the car and drive 8 hours to go do this anymore. And it just kind of changed. I've been changing, and it's probably just because I'm getting older. God,
well, that does it too. I mean, I was not a road warrior in the music business, but in my day gig, I've got 800 nights in Marriott hotels. I'm platinum elite forever, kind of thing, your lifetime. So I've spent too many nights in a hotel, and trust me, COVID has made me appreciate my bed every night I go to bed. Thanking God for my bed. So there's a lot you can do here, but there's got to be opportunity. This business is going to change. Tate, what's your view on where you see things going? You're young. You're going to be coming up. You're an amazing player. Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I just saw who is it? Lori Jones just asked how we've all been coping with the lockdown. So that's kind of plays into it. But yeah, I'm hopeful that things will be normal pretty soon. The area that I'm from in central Pennsylvania is so rural in parts that I feel as though and it's all you can get into the politics of it all and all that kinds of stuff, but we don't have to get into that. But there's certain people that are kind of at this point like, who cares?
Right.
Let's just get back to it. And so you know, not that that's the attitude that the group that I'm going to be playing with this summer is kind of like, but we're seeing that people are willing to be having bands come and play at their venues again, and if people are willing to have us play, we will play. You know what I mean? We will be as safe as possible and all that kinds of stuff. But to kind of answer Lori's question, and you guys can answer that as well. Then how we've coped with it. I mean, it's been tough, but I think the adjustments have already pretty much been made, and it's not like we're going to have to make any more. Like, I don't think things could get any worse than they were or are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being in college, anytime I play with someone, they have to be 6 feet away from me, and they're behind a plexiglass barrier, so I can't hear what they're playing. And if I can, it's because I'm playing really quietly. So it's ruined the connection, in my opinion, that when you play live, you get to have with musicians. So I've been doing the YouTube thing and trying to stay active there and build my presence on social media, and I've seen a lot of other people doing that too. I mean, that's been a really big benefit from all this, is being able to have that time to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I have a lot of downtime here at school because I'm having classes on my laptop instead of walking and having them in person. So I have plenty of time to sit here, and whether it's listen to music or edit or mix videos or whatever the case may be, it's just being able to take advantage of that downtime for something good and not just sitting around, which I've done a lot of too. But that's kind of my take on it. But yeah.
Chad, what's your take? I mean, you've kind of given your take. You don't.
I jumped into YouTube when the quarantine happened in Nashville right after the tornado tore through our backyards right here at my house, and that was tough, man. That was really rough for me because I go from that to the lockdown that we all had, and I got lucky, and I didn't have to do anything except get up every morning, take a walk, and come up with something to put on YouTube that day. And it started happening every day. And I'm like, wow, I'm kind of getting this. And that's how I did it. And it was my therapy. And it's become now what I do every day. But it was my therapy to sit there and find a song that I didn't care if it was popular or not. I found it on Apple Music walking around. And I played it just because I wanted something positive to do. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me, mostly on, weirdly, Facebook, reaching out, following my videos that I do every day, and just saying that it makes them happier to watch me play every day. And these are people that used to get to come out and see me play, I guess, at some point in time. But I get a lot of that feedback, which was good, and it made me kind of feel better about what I was doing. I pick songs that make me happy, because I'm the DJ. So it's neat to see it connect with people, even though they're songs from other people, they're cover songs. But it's nice to be able to feel like I'm entertaining somebody at some level that maybe might not have anything to do, or just needs a mind break. But that's how I got through it, was absolutely creating every day.
I think that's been a big part of it, for me too. I mean, the last couple years have been a little bit tough. I don't know if you guys know anything about my story, but my son passed away about a year and a half ago. He was 35, so it was not a good year last year. You know what I mean? And COVID hit us in March, and it was like 6 months into him being gone, and I felt the whole world get grievous. I felt the world starting to feel like the pain I was living in every day. And I said this many times on this show. I said to guys, listen, if I'm not playing drums, then the life of me is kind of like not here. So I will tell you, the thing that resurrected me in playing on YouTube, I was starting to lose it at one point. I just didn't want to do it. I couldn't find anything to play, and I don't like playing over top of the other drummer, if you know what I mean. It's not fun for me. So I found X-Track stems. I started pulling the drums off, and then I kind of found my voice. I could play whatever I wanted, like you said, Chad. It's like, let me just play what makes me happy. So I started playing all these old songs because they make me happy, not because they're hard. They're not hard songs. I mean, every once in a while I'll pull a hard one out just for myself, to try something stupid. But I don't. There's so many guys that can play, the Sting songs and the Police better than I play them. You know what I mean? So why not play the stuff I played my whole life, which is all groove tunes? Because that's how I made a living in music, was just playing pocket. That's what guys pay me for. I love playing jazz. I love listening to jazz. I love fusion. I love funk. I love Weather Report. I love Tower Power. I've seen all these guys a bunch of times and studied them and listened to them. But, and I play them every once in a while. But it's not where I made my money. I made my money playing weddings and shows and church. So getting through COVID for me was just start playing. And I've played a lot this year. I'm at the point now where I'm uploading one a day somehow. People look at me like, how are you doing that? Well, it's like I spend my whole Saturday down here just playing drum covers.
So you only play one day a week?
I played Saturday and Sunday, pretty much.
Wow.
And you get yourself through an entire week worth of content.
Yep.
Damn, I never knew that. I never knew that was how you recorded all your stuff.
That's how I record. Normally I'm in here at like 8 in the morning and I go to about 6 o'clock, 7, not 7. I cut off at like 5:30 usually. My wife and I will just go eat dinner. And matter of fact, even when I did sessions for people down here, if I did a Saturday session, it's like, get here as early as you want. I'm up, but we're going to 5, and 5:30 I'm out, kicking you out the door. Like, see you later. I'm not doing those 10 o'clock sessions, and I don't do the stuff, rarely do anything during the week. So I don't record during the week, anything. I may start Friday afternoon, like
do you work on stuff during the week at all, or no?
No, I sit at the kit and just blow a little bit, like in between, like if I get a phone call and I'm like kind of my mind's blowing from work, I sit, my desk is like 6 feet from here. So I go through the door, walk over to, from my desk in here, play drums for 10 minutes, then I get back up and go back to work, but I can't concentrate on what I'm doing, and on the weekends, I just sit here and just blow them out. So I can do a drum cover usually in an hour and a half tops. I'm just doing them.
It takes me about 1 hour per minute to do my videos. 1 hour completely. If I put everything together, it's 1 hour of my time to make 1 minute of video. To do what I do.
But you guys do some great multi-camera. I'm getting back into multi-camera. I really need to buy some GoPros. All these years doing this, you'd think I'd have a GoPro. I have an old DSLR. I've got my iPhone and I've got my iPad, and that's it.
Man, so, I have 2 iPhones, 2 iPads, and that does all my camera views.
Yeah, I use my current iPhone and an old iPhone, and then I have my GoPro. I was using an actual Canon camera that my parents had, that they were kind of using to take pictures or whatever. And it was a really nice camera. It just kind of sat around because it wasn't being taken out to use for anything for a while there. And I was like, I'm just going to use this to record. And I was having problems with it. And I just didn't, I'm not a camera guy, so I didn't want to, I could have tried to figure out what the problem was with it. It would just shut off in the middle of recording. I'd get a great take, and then I'd go over to turn the camera off, and it was already off, and I'd find out that it recorded 13 seconds. And I was like, what the hell? And I just didn't want to take the time to figure out what was going on with it. So I just scratched it and went down to using 3 cameras. And so I use a phone in the front, a phone to my left, and the GoPro over my right shoulder. And that's all I need.
3 cameras is great. I'm doing 2. I'm always moving my cameras, though. That's my thing. Except I've now found this looking up camera angle that I put on the floor, kind of looks up at me. I saw, I don't know, who was that? Giorgio guy, that guy from Italy that plays Gretsch and now Zildjian again. He keeps switching, endorsing. He's like fusion-esque. He did something for the DW day. They did a whole DW new equipment day. And he had this camera angle from the floor looking at him. I thought, that's the coolest angle yet. So I've been abusing that for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. So I have to get out of that eventually. But, over the shoulder, that's my favorite one, And if I'm only doing 1 camera, it's really fast. I can do it really quick. But I think what we hit on is playing what we love is what's fun. You know what I mean? And I mean, you're playing things you love playing, Chad. That's cool. That brings you joy. You know. And I will tell you, the older you get in life, the more you want to play what you were when you were a kid. That's the stuff that turns me on. And that's why, I mean, I can play metal, but it's not my thing to play metal. There's guys that play metal so much better than me that I'm like, let them play it, you know? Like, I got a friend, Trey B, on YouTube. I don't know if you guys know Trey, but Trey, like, kills that stuff. So I want to see Trey out there doing this double pedal thing and all over the place, and he's got stick flips and stuff. You do some cool stick flips too, Chad. That's one of your things.
I'm a little.
You got the show, man. You got the show. That's.
I'm trying to be entertaining. Every 5 seconds, there needs to be something happening on a screen to make people's eyes stay there. Right. And when I started doing this, and how I came up with it was, after the first couple of videos that I uploaded, I saw in the analytics, the difference between my view time when I added the green screen jumped 70%.
That's
and
wild.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's how fast. And as soon as I did it, I realized that I had found something good. And I ran with it. I did, and watched all my view times absolutely jump. Everything. Even my original stuff now, I use the green screen to constantly have your eyes every 3 to 5 seconds are moving on the screen.
And you were saying today that you do the green screen by basically doing the screen capture on your iPad? That's how you steal the video? Oh my gosh, if it's that simple.
Dude, I'm telling you, if I were to do a straight up tutorial about how I do it all, it would be so easy. I think everybody would start doing what I'm doing because I kept it simple. I have to edit, not at a computer. I hated sitting at a Pro Tools computer. I hated it because it took me away from, people and everything else to sit down at a screen that didn't really love me. So I switched to the iPad, and now I edit with these headphones on beside my family on the couch while they're watching television. I do every edit while I'm with people now. I don't do anything at a computer. I never sit down and have a laptop in my lap, ever.
It's wild. Mm-hmm. That's great that you found a process that works.
Yeah, props to you for using an iPad for everything you do.
It had to be fast, and the iPad is fast. I don't have to go to commands. I just move the screen with my fingers, and that's what made it fast. And I use my ears to tell me when things sound good.
And you can put 3 cameras on iMovie on the.
I just went to 4.
Oh, you bounced.
I bounced. I went to 4 today. I'm doing 4 cameras today because I'm using a slow-mo camera on one of my things right now.
That's wild.
So you can only do 2 things at once on an iPad, but once you start bouncing and I start layering, that's how I get all the green screen, unusual things that I can layer, kind of like a ViewMaster. That's exactly kind of the idea of a green screen, is the ViewMaster as a kid, that little toy.
I got a green screen. I might have to try this green screen thing out.
It's just something different. You never know. I've had a few people that follow me, and they started using green screen stuff, and then they've kind of abandoned it. Maybe it was just too much editing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I have a fun question, if I may.
Go ahead.
So you guys were kind of talking about the stuff that you like to play, and I think we've all kind of found our little niche of what we do on YouTube. So, and I love when people give requests, and like I'll get some people that will say you should do this Chicago tune or that Chicago tune. Like, it's been a while since I've listened through all of the records. Like, I just did a tune from Chicago 13 the other week, and so then people were like, oh, you should do this song from Chicago 13. It's like, I can't even tell you I've ever listened to that tune, even though I listened to that record at some point, but it's been a while. So it's been interesting excuse me, going back and getting recommendations from people. So my question is, what is the weirdest, like, out of the box recommendation or like requests that you've gotten for a song? Because I've gotten some weird stuff, like stuff that's like, have you watched a video on my channel? Like, no, I appreciate it, but like I don't really like that's just not like the thing. Like, you can go and watch someone else play that. Like,
right. I hear you. Chad, you want to go?
I've seen people talk about it, but I've never really had it happen to me that was unusual. Most anything people give me, I'm like, okay, I'll learn it. And I'll go for a song that I know I will play one time in my life. And I will spend the time to learn that one song, to do a video for that one song. And I did it for a guy. I did a Jewel song that people kind of forgot about as kind of another hit on her 3rd album. And goodness gracious, it was complex. I could tell the dude was just checking to see could I play this other thing, but I went way beyond, and I added so much stuff, and it was ridiculous. So if you're wanting to hear the song, don't listen to my version, because I'm going for it.
You had fun with it, right?
If you ask me to do something, I'll do it, but I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah. I've had a bunch of metal songs tried different metal songs, and the one I did was Mean Street by Van Halen. Yeah. And I've gotten a lot of hits on that video, and every once in a while somebody will just lay into me saying you did something wrong, that's what they'll do to me, you didn't play that right, you didn't play this right. I get that a lot. So that's when I try to do something for somebody because I can do it. And I started to learn that you just don't do that. If it's not in your wheelhouse, you say, nah, I'm not doing it, because it's not worth it, because they complain in ways that just annoy you at the end, Did any of you guys have any haters on your channel? I guess it takes a while before you start getting haters, but
I haven't had too many experiences, and like usually if someone will comment something that's like it's usually not a critique, it's just more like, hey, did you know that this, like I just had someone that commented on my Black Cow cover the other day, very nice guy, and I was kind of back and forth with him because I was playing, I don't know how familiar you are with that, the drum part for that too. I assume Earl, at least I know you are. I don't know about Chadwick, but the actual recording, I think, is that Ed Green on that recording?
Black Cow, tune? I think might be. I always get these confused. It's either Bernard or it's Paul Humphreys. It might be Paul Humphreys, I think.
Okay. Either way, the kick drum pattern is 1, 2, and 4, and 1. So when I played it, I went I played the same part as the bass, and it was just something that I really wasn't paying attention to when I filmed it. That's a pretty easy tune. There's not much going on, so I just sat down and did it. And he was like, the bass drum part is actually just the offbeat of beat one, and then the offbeat. And I was like, it's just something that I would have never paid attention to even a year ago, which now, the way I listen to songs now, I would have totally picked up on that and not played it the way I did, which is, crazy. But, I get stuff like that every now and then. I had one guy that commented on my Gaucho cover one time and just kind of ripped into is this how Fagan and Walter Becker would have wanted you to play this? And I'm like, well, I'm not Jeff Porcaro, so, and it was like, it was like, do you know the history of the song Gaucho? There's rumors that song is 40 different drum takes put together, and there's the whole story about how Fagan and Becker left the studio late at night after they were recording the basic track for that tune, and Porcaro and whoever else was on that track, I don't know who the bass player was on that, but they stayed after Fagan and Becker left, and we're like, no, we're going to get this right for them. Yeah. And they stayed. They continued to record overnight, and then I think what they did, or at least, and the funny thing is that when they would do those sessions, they'd keep drum tracks or whatever, and then they'd throw everything else out. They'd recorded however many takes of the Gaucho rhythm track, and they only used the drum tracks, and apparently they spliced a bunch of different takes of that tune together to get that perfect drum track. Yeah. And here I am just trying to do my little measly recreation of it, and this guy's giving me a bunch of stuff. But that was one time, that was the one big thing that I've ever had. So I don't deal with that too much, thankfully. I don't know. Maybe as my channel grows, I'll get it more. But
I get these guys that they see Rosanna. One of the early videos I did was. I had 100 subscribers when I did Rosanna, just so you all know. I had if I had 100, it was probably a lot at that point in time. And I got my sloppy halftime shuffle thing, I got, it kind of grooves. It's kind of got an Earl thing to it, but it's not quite Jeff, but I had fun doing it. And I wasn't going to spend 6 days practice. I don't spend 6 days practicing anything anymore. I don't have time for that. I'm 45 years playing drums. It's I play like I play. I'm at that point in life where it's Buddy Rich didn't think about what he played. He just played what he played. You get to a certain level in your career where you go, I play like I play. Chad, you play like you play. You're going to do the best you can. I do the best to be faithful to the songs I'm listening to. I listen to them a bunch of times. And really how I do my covers is I will sit there, turn the camera on, and I practice it while I'm recording it. Sometimes I get it in 3, and sometimes I get it in 10. Doesn't matter, but it normally isn't longer than an hour. So when I did Rosanna, I didn't do something right, and this one guy goes, man, you didn't play that right, blah, 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 blah. And I always do this now. I go look at their channel, and usually they have nothing. There's nothing there.
Yep.
I said, dude, thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. Just let me know when you upload your video, because I'd like to take a look at it. They never write back after that. They have there's no response to that. You know, it's like, thanks for the comment, but let me see yours.
Earl, can you say something about Mike's comment there? I want to hear this.
Oh, what? About the haters on your channel when off on Amy Grant? I had Mike Fasano on. Mike did Mike tours with Tiger Army, the band he's in. And I think my friend is on here. CCM drummer may be on here. He didn't like Mike's comment about Amy and Vince getting a divorce, unfortunately. So which is true. That's what happened. Not Amy and Vince got a divorce. Amy and Gary Chapman got a divorce, and then Amy and Vince became a couple. So Mike was kidding about Amy Grant. We were talking about Amy Grant and Nashville session drummers, and this was an impromptu interview out in the middle of a parking lot at a club where his band was playing in Fort Lauderdale. So I forget the name of the club we were at, but anyhow, Mike's a great guy, and we were just off the cuffing it like we're doing here right now. We're off the cuffing it, and he made that. And Mike got a little bit of flack from my friend Matthew, but you know, Matthew's okay with you, Mike. Don't worry about it, okay? If he's still out there, I'm sure you guys, he'll be okay. But there are people that take offense to certain ways you say things, and I've got an understanding with Matthew now. Matthew and I talk. Matthew likes drum covers exact, so that was tough early on for me because I wasn't exact. So we had a couple rounds about that. Now we have an understanding that playing it exact is cool. That's one way of looking at it, and there's another way is interpreting it. And I think interpreting in the song and putting you in there is where it ends up needing to go, because that's how you end up playing. And if you've done any kind of cover band stuff, and I've done tons of it, where I had to copy some other drummer, you basically have to play what you hear and break it down, be as faithful as you possibly can to the patterns, the kick patterns, the snare patterns, but you're not going to get every fill, and you're not going to do everything exactly like they play it, because that's not who you are, and I do this. The other thing is, when I'm playing, like I play a lot in church. When I'm playing with guys learning church music, and matter of fact, that's why I don't play a lot of church, the worship covers here. There's guys that do that. I have friends on YouTube that are the worship drummer guys, and they do all the Hillsongs exact. They know every single part, and they play everything exact. The problem is when you play in church with musicians and you don't have a backing track, if the guitar player is not playing exact like on the record, guess what? You're going to adjust your part. That's called using your ears, by the way. And using your ears is how we make music, right? We make music by listening to what we hear. So if the bass player isn't playing exactly, laying it in exactly like the guy on the record did, you might have to adapt your part a little bit. And that's what I'm known for, is being able to have the ears to pick that up and make the change.
That's the difference in knowledge and wisdom. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Knowledge and wisdom.
That's the difference. You're explaining that difference. And you can have a ton of knowledge, but until I got out of college and went on the road with you, really playing, that's where wisdom comes from, is all those crazy gigs that give me stories that have worst gig evers behind them,
Right.
That's where the wisdom comes from. And you choose better parts. I think so.
You're not married to the part. I took a lesson with John Robinson during COVID. That was one of the highlights of COVID for me, was John Robinson. And John watched a couple of my videos. I sent them to him because I wanted to know how I played. And I did one of them they were all songs he played on too. By the way. I didn't just send him any songs. I sent him ones that he played on. And one was Back in the High Life. And he said to me, he goes, I like your interpretation of the song. I'm glad you didn't play it like I played it. That showed him something, that I was not stuck in a box of trying to copy him. Because there's nothing a teacher can do with you if all you want to do is copy. I mean, copying is great, and it's important when you're young to learn to play exact. But eventually your personality has to get into it. When you're my age, if you don't have some personality in there, I think there's something wrong. You never really picked up the concepts, because that's what these drummers do. They're giving you concepts to grow and learn. It's a vocabulary. Goes back to the Flurry conversation. I don't know if any of you guys are in on the Hutchison, the Gregory Hutchison Flurry conversation, but
I saw that video. I haven't had the chance to watch it and see what it's all about.
It's worth watching Gregory Hutchison go off on all the Instagram drummers that are saying they're jazz drummers playing tons of stuff. You know, when he's a real jazz drummer that has vocabulary, he's learned the vocabulary being a jazz drummer. So he studied Max, he studied Elvin, he studied Tony, you know, and he's just not blowing linear riffs all over the place, which are really cool, by the way. And I wish I could play linear riffs like some of these guys do on Instagram. I really wish I had the chops. But you know what? I don't have time to do that anymore. And maybe you do, Tate, right now. I mean, you got great chops, but you seem like you use your you've developed a vocabulary too with all the rudiments you've learned and things. That's how you build your vocabulary. So what we're talking about wisdom, we're talking about musicality and utilizing those tools we have.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing tunes, even if it's just, you know, whether it's a drum cover or a gig where you're playing in a cover band or whatever, it's the difference between just copying and being authentic. You know, you can be authentic and still play, you know, different things. And that's the direction that I've really taken with my covers, is that, like, yeah, I might not play every single note that Danny played, but like the important thing is that because I'm playing a song that he played, I sound like that I have that authentic jazz rock sound for a Chicago tune, or that authentic funk Tower of Power type sound when I'm doing a Garibaldi cover, or whatever the case means. And you develop that personality from everything that you've listened to and studied. You know, it doesn't just, you know, your personality will always come out, but there's got to be some sort of basis for that. You know, it's a language. You don't learn a you don't just come out and you can speak. You learn how to speak from hearing other people talk. And that's where your personality comes from, the people that you've heard talk for years and years and years. Yep. It's no different than who you've listened to play the drums. It's that correlation is the best I can think of. And my teacher, Justin Faulkner, here at Temple, has really like ensued on that too. It's, you know, you learn that language by listening to those players, and you can't just get that language from you know, working out of books. That can certainly help with that, but you got to listen. If you're not listening, you're not doing it right. You know,
and listening is the key to the whole thing. And when you're on a bandstand playing with other musicians, you don't want to throw the lead singer out by throwing in some huge choppy thing. Especially if she's struggling to get the, you know, find where the rhythm is, and she's kind of like all over the time. You know, you want to set her up. You want to basically do one of those Pat Boone, Debbie Boones into that thing. You don't want to go and where she's like, now she's totally missing it, you know, and the whole band is somewhere else. That's the difference. But when you're on Instagram, it sure looks cool to do all that, you know, I call it vomiting over everything. You know, that's cool. It's great. Feels good. But Pat Boone, Debbie Boone is probably the right fill half the darn time if you're playing in a pocket gig, you know? What do you think, Chad?
Have you not seen Insta Choppers playing a pocket gig? Have you not seen that?
No, I've not seen that one.
I have some Instagram cats from Japan and China that follow me, and I follow them, and they are monster Insta Choppers, monster. And I saw them upload a video the other day that I thought would be kind of cool. I'm like, all right, they're playing Uptown Funk. I can't wait to see this. Goodness gracious. I thought I'd play a lot of notes. That was the craziest thing I'd ever seen, was all those going the 3 different hats over some of those parts that it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Go try to find the Insta Choppers doing covers. I'm trying to find them for my Mad Cowbell cover show. Yeah. I want to get Insta Choppers on there because it'll blow people's minds to hear things done like that. Yeah. The newest one that everybody jumped into was the one a few weeks ago with Tears for Fears. Did y'all see this one? Yeah. That was wild. It offended your ear to listen to all the people play like that, and to play that unusual pattern on top of that 6/8 groove of Tears for Fears. It was mind-blowing. Which one?
See if this works.
Yeah, there were a ton of people that did it, and a ton of famous drummers did it too, because it is incredibly hard what they were doing over that. But it just ruins the song. Yeah, it wrecks it. I musically overplay, but I try not to instant chop too much. I try not to, because it kind of does blur up. Once you go past 16-note triplets, it really, really goes so fast that if other things are in the song, you won't hear those notes.
Yeah.
It just
Hey,
gets
Earl.
so fast.
Go to
Yes.
your go to your StreamYard screen. There we go. Okay. Let's see if the sound shares for this.
Oh, it
It
doesn't.
looks cool though.
Yep.
I can't get the sound though. That's interesting though. That I could do that. There's a lot you can do with this StreamYard. I'm going to tell you that right now. By the way, I promised my wife that I would be out of this by 11. So, you know, that's how that works. You know what I mean? You got to do what's right for the family thing.
It's all right, man.
But,
I'm in the Central Time, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
You're good. But guys, thank you so much for being on today. I mean, this was super impromptu. I just sent you guys invitations. I also sent Mike Frazano one, but he was on the other day. This StreamYard does work, and I'd like to do this again individually, you know, with each of you guys. And Tate, maybe we can do one for your channel if you want to do one. I'd love to do one with you.
Yeah. I've done some live streams before. I just find that I don't have enough people that want to get on. You know, if you don't have people to get on and talk to, it's not worth it. The couple that I've done have just been such flops because I end up just sitting on there and talking to myself. And then I just delete them afterwards because I'm like, nobody's going to watch this anyways.
Well, and that's what I was afraid of too, by the way. But I have some guys that said to me, I threw the question out on my YouTube channel. I said, listen, if I do this, would you watch? I want to thank everybody that's in the audience watching today. And I know a lot of guys will watch it on the backside of this too. So, and hopefully it'll get you some more subscribers. I hope. You know, that's part of the game. That's part of the game here. Because I'm about helping everybody out here, man. We're all part of the same family here. The drumming community is the drumming community, and I'm all about watching the Insta Choppers as much as watching anybody else. I watch them all. I'm nothing bad about it, you know. But I'd like to do this again with both of you at some point when you want to do it. But this was so impromptu and so. But the whole thing with making this work was amazing this week. I figured out StreamYard because Tate said it to me. Mike Frazano said try StreamYard. And it works. It really does. And there's a lot of cool things we can do with it. So thank you guys for being on the show today.
You know it.
Appreciate it. And let's stay in touch on YouTube. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to say one more goodbye to my guys. Bye, Tate. And bye, Chad. Thanks. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all being on the show. I got like 2 minutes. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say to my guys here. All right, some of you had to leave. Hey, man, just being here. Thanks, Bill, for being here. Sean, thank you for being here. Blake Nunn, thank you. Mike Fazano, thank you. Of course, I saw you sent me a text. As you can see, I cannot do both things at the same time. It's just not possible. Thank my guests, Tate and Chadwick, for being on today. Oh, I know there was a ton of questions. Next time, I will do one that will just be... It will just be me. So we'll ask lots of questions. And if it only goes 30 minutes, it goes 30 minutes. But thank you all for being on. I really do appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. And I know my wife's looking at me going, it's time to go do yoga. So that's my next thing, is to go do yoga. So namaste to everybody. Have a great day. And we'll talk again soon. Remember, your questions make the show. Thanks for watching. Bye.